sisters and brothers. Africa stretches forth her hands to her prodigal sons and daughters. Scattered across the water. In this great disaster with him calling my Alpha that was authored by those dirty, rotten, stinking, I won't say the word, but they tried to kill every last semblance of African spirit and skill. But destiny must unfold, prophecy must fulfill. Emancipation is a mountain, it's a real steep hill, and to get to the top for we is such a thrill. That's why from Cape Town to Cairo, Barbados to Brazil, no matter where we were taken, we are African still, and we will heal those emotional scars, and we will reclaim everything that's ours, and we will retake our place amongst the stars, and we will redeem our ancestor. Africa, we love you. Better days must come, we see Ra's sun shining through. The storm clouds are moving from above you, and glorious things again will be spoken of you.
And greetings and welcome yet again to another live broadcast of Building Legacy, where we encourage our listeners to learn, teach, act, share, build together with principles in unity. It is an honor and a privilege to be among such esteemed, illustrious, regal majesty. I am so excited that I could just come out of my skin, but I will be professional and I will be focused and I will share in these moments with my co-host as I serve our people in a variety of circles. Those that are not familiar, I am Snt.Dr. ChenziRa, Davis Kahina, Parankh, Smai Tawi, among other organizational affiliations. And I am joined with my illustrious, majestic, blessed beyond measure, powerful African Queen Mother warrior beyond self. We're going to take a moment, and as I pull up these introductions, and I desire to take some time in these introductions, I'm going to start with our exceptionally engaging, regal majesty, His Excellency Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade. Woo! Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you so much for making time. And I know you gave us the license to just be informal. However, you can tell in programs.
That's not how it goes.
Hold each other up and hold
up. I mean, His Excellency.
Yes.
I know we are people who know the value of being humble. So we embrace humility, but at the same time, we must lift each other up. And when we have the blessing of the presence of ones who are as illustrious, as majestic, as His Highness Nana, we must make sure that we call every single piece of that energy to lift him up. So that is what we are doing.
Right. That's right.
I give thanks.
So I give thanks. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, Nana. We're very grateful. And I'm going to share portions of his bio in light of those that have joined us, and we give thanks for those that were patient enough. We were having some technical issues. Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade is the founder and executive director of African Views, a nonprofit organization in consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council. The African Views organization focuses on society's well being by promoting cultural sustainability and cultural harmony through scientific, social research, community assessment, resource mapping, and project development. He is the architect of the AV framework, including the African Cultural Exchange Programs, a new concept for connecting children in Africa with children on other continents. He developed and produced programs such as African Health Dialogues, which led to the establishment of the African Institute for Disease Control. He designed the global outreach for youth initiatives, sustainable development goals, Green Africa, Culture Diplomats, New Deals, the Anti Violence Against Women Act, Spirit of Peace and Prosperity, an annual summit, and African Views Television. He was elected chairman of the proposed African Diaspora Federal Credit Union and the proposed African Development Funds, a campaign that became successful in the Caribbean after delivering a speech of global corporate social responsi- at the Global Corporate Social Responsibility Summit and a general partner in the council. He is also the progenitor of the Royal Institute of Global African Cultures and Traditions for the Royal African Kingdoms. Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade has given speeches at the US State Department, United Nations, African Union, colleges and universities in the US, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America on issues related to the role of cultures in peace building, sustainable development goals, SDGs, corporate social responsibility, gender equality, education, environment, health, media, social, and economic development. Before joining the nonprofit sector, he worked as the Director of Research and Marketing for International Investment Advisors, manager of the Korea International Investment Funds, one of the earliest promoters of the Korean economy. He has also worked at several distinguished financial firms such as Standard & Poor's, Reuters America, and Citibank Private Bank. Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade has 15 years tenure in the financial market industry, an MBA from Columbia University, postgraduate scholastic background in philosophy with a focus on nomology and Africanistics, a PhD in economics, a PhD in public administration, a PhD in humanities, and has served as a distinguished professor of international law and order. In addition to all of these pieces, he continues to engage in providing publications, for example, the 100 Peaceful Solutions for Women's Advancement Across Cultures, as well as African Reviews with publications on academia, along with a host of other projects and publications, too numerous to mention. And we'd like to just welcome and thank you for joining us.
Wow.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Like,
Wow.
where he there? Where he there? Who that? Like, right here, right here. Like, chop. Thank you so much. No.
I never heard anybody read that before.
Oh, I know. We write these things and then we just let them go fluffy. But we
Oh.
really thank you for just being able to share with us a bit about some of the things that you're willing to share with us today. And then we're going to do the introduction for Her Excellency Reverend Queen Dr. Yvonne Washington Toure of God's House International. But we'd like for you to just open up part of our engagement, please.
Wow. First of all, I cannot thank you enough, my beautiful, wonderful Nana, Senior Royal Sister Dr. ChenziRa, and Senior Royal Sister Dr. SandRa. Both of you really just humbled me to my very basic because of such honor that you've given me and invited me to speak with you. I am one with you in every measure of our cause and purpose. It is being because of you. That is the spirit of Ubuntu that I feel so honored and feel so measured of all the things you said. I've really never heard anybody say all of that before. So I thank you so much for inviting me. I really look forward to learning from Dr. Yvonne Washington. Toure, I have, you know, when I realized that we're going to be meeting here, I had to just get a sense of who you are, and I am so awed by all the things that you've done. I am very honored to be with you. I think there might be some people that we both know because of all the work that we've been doing in Sierra Leone. We love our sisters and brothers in Salone, and I really feel very honored to be here with you today. I look forward to this conversation. I think I'm ready. Thank you.
Thanks. Give thanks.
Thanks.
African Queen Mother Warrior, Sister Dr. SandRa, any reflections before I start this next introduction?
Absolutely, absolutely. As you read and brought the fullness of His Excellency Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade, because I need support with my pronunciation, because I was raised in a Eurocentric environment and it's made my tongue lazy and I'm in recovery. So any support you're gonna give me is greatly received. As you read his accomplishments, as you introduced us to his journey, what was coming into my consciousness was the importance of not just building legacy, but of really recognizing the kings and the giants that we have among us, because the narrative out there is that African men are dangerous, African men are not this, African men. And so our young ones coming up are hearing this negative narrative, and they really need to hear what the truth is about our African men. So it is fitting that the whole thing should be read out, repeated. Who has watched this once should put it back to the beginning and press play so they can listen to it again. How many PhDs? Cultural sustainability? I mean, give thanks. Give thanks. We are honored to have you here.
Thanks. And so with that, so that we have, and we're very grateful to be able to have the balance with our illustrious excellency joining us. And then it gets engagingly paired with another royal, majestic, Her Excellency presence in the embodiment of Reverend Queen Dr. Yvonne Washington Toure of God's House International. When we talk about what is building legacy, it's really, for those that are not familiar, because it's going to flow a little differently, let us give you like the synopsis. Building legacy, an interdisciplinary and transcultural media broadcast sharing ankhversations, living conversations, actions and solution-focused perspectives on global affairs and movements in the Caribbean, Africa, Eurasia, the Americas, and internationally. Our broadcasts are live on the second and fourth Saturday of each month. Remain inspired. With that being shared, I got to get my seat prepped. Her Excellency, Reverend Queen Dr. Yvonne Washington Toure. And these letters, I'm going to let her roll with, but I know the MSN, the FNP, the APRN-BC, and the PhD. So I just would like us to navigate all of this work that she's done around being a medical practitioner to the doctoral level, just so we're clear first. In addition to her being board certified in family, as a family nurse practitioner, she's had more than 25 years of experience providing healthcare, exceptional healthcare, we must add, in a variety of settings throughout the world. In addition to being a veteran of the US Air Force, in addition to doing a variety of research to really help with chronic diseases and illnesses. This may sound familiar. In addition to providing her skills, talents, and expertise right here in the Virgin Islands Department of Health, par excellence, for several years. She has worked within health education and health resources in Freetown, Sierra Leone, as well as in the Virgin Islands and abroad. And this is done through her not-for-profit organization, God's House International. I want us to pause for a minute. Honored. Reverend Dr. Queen, Sister Yvonne also works to address homelessness and the awareness therein around the world. Whether it's through feedings, whether it's through free healthcare, whether it's through education, all of this is an integral part of some of her work. Some of her recent endeavors, which are now reaching completion levels, are in Freetown, Sierra Leone, where back as far as 2000, she initially began visiting the nation, the country. She was able to arrange and set up independent medical care since 2001 in Sierra Leone, and is well known for her efforts by residents in the city of Freetown, as well as in the villages of Ankhversations. And I will leave that pronunciation because I don't like to mess it up either with my left brain tongue. One of her major projects in the region was the construction of God's House International free medical clinic in Freetown, which is fully operational. The clinic was designed by Mr. Kende Ture. May we call his name and the ancestors guide him in the embrace of the Creator. Her husband of more than 20 years, who became an ancestor in 2020, a native of Sierra Leone and a member of the local tribe. This couple together put their work, put their words, put their energy to establishing a profound facility that now is a beacon of healthcare, education, and spiritual ministry par excellence. And they did this using their own personal financial resources and donations from family, friends, and small businesses to help keep this dream alive. So nobody could come and say, so-and-so did this for you, so-and-so did that for you. It's authentically homegrown. Sister Dr. Queen Yvonne Washington Ture has made a 360-degree connection within her life after deep research on her ancestry, where she discovered her ancestral ties to Sierra Leone through the Geechee roots of her mother and her great-grandmother. The Geechee, otherwise known as Gullah people, were originally from regions of Sierra Leone, spreading as far south as Angola. And through the transatlantic enslavement industry, trade, however you'd like to look at that, many natives of Sierra Leone were brought to South Carolina, along with a number of Africans from Angola. And there's a host of theories that our illustrious Sister Queen has studied in regard to the original names of the Geechee and the Gullah, because there are many. As she continued with this search and research on the origins and the interpretations of names, God's House International truly has been established as a tribute to these roots from which she, her family lineage, and those to come have actually stemmed from. She is also a recording artist and instrumental to sharing a particular anthem, the nurses' practitioners' anthem, that they refer to as the nurses' theme song. In addition to being a recent widow, a profound mother, a loving grandmother and great-grandmother, we bring before you our illustrious, powerful, most loving royal sister queen, Her Excellency, Reverend Dr. Yvonne Washington Ture.
Ah! Oh, oh, oh.
Now, that we got all that
Yes.
out of the way, right? We can get
Jumping out my skin.
yes. Peel, 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 peel.
I'm jumping out my skin. I want to first of all, if I may, SntDr,
Of course.
just acknowledge your loss. So we lose on one level, and the impact of that is indescribable. Then we gain on so many other levels, because now we call his name as an ancestor. We have him, we share him, and we give thanks for him. Can you say his name, please? So that his name is
Ande.
Ande.
No, Kande.
Kande.
K, but
Okay.
the emphasis is on the K. Kande.
Kande.
Yes.
Yes. May his name always be called. May we always remember him. And may we also acknowledge the work that you have done together and the legacy that he has left. We want to do that. And then I want to really celebrate you, a clinician who has retained her humanity. This is not something that happens all the time. A clinician who has retained their humanity and has also sacrificed because there is no separation. This is indeed a blessing. And this is how we enter into a level of service and example that we all must follow. Reverend Queen Mother Dr. Yvonne Washington Toure and God's House International, which is your legacy, which is the institution. We are so honored, so honored. So many people come and they have title and they have letters and they have lost their humanity. I looked like His Excellency Nana Dr. Wale Indres Ajibade. I looked and saw you. I saw you in lots of different places with lots of different people, with lots of different therapies, and I listened to your voice and I give thanks. We give thanks for you, because this is what we need. We need healers who are brave. We need healers who move beyond the safety of the hospital corridors, who move among the people. So we give thanks. So
Thank you.
Woo! I got to be quiet. I got to be quiet.
We're going to open this up in a moving way, because our intention is to use the balance of our time. You know, some of it has been, shortened. However, we'd like to use the balance of today's broadcast for each of you to share a bit about the organization that you represent and lead, and some of the elements that support building legacy, as well as particular programs or projects, so that persons that are listening, that are viewing, can support what is already being done and what we can do in the future. And I would most humbly ask that we commence with Her Excellency Reverend Queen Dr. Yvonne, if we may.
Good afternoon, everybody. I give thanks, and I give thanks to the Most High. All honor is to Him, because without Him, none of this would have happened. Malcolm X once said that revolution is not one without bloodshed. The battle or the bullet. I've been honored to lay my life down to ensure that this work in Sierra Leone is done. I thank God for my husband, who really, he is the architecture and the builder of the edifice in Sierra Leone. And he's a legacy now, and it will forever be a legacy in his honor. The work that you see I have done started when I was about 9 years old. In my spirit, I watched an organization called Save the Children, working with children in Biafra. And I was crying, and I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I said, the white people are helping the Africans. Can I help the Africans too? My mother gave me the courage and the impetus at that time to know that, Yvonne, you can do anything you want to do. And so that idea sat in my mind for a long time. I never knew how it was going to happen. And when I met my late husband in 1998, and he just out of the blue said, I'm going to marry you and I'm going to take you across the waters, I was so happy. When we arrived in Sierra Leone in 2000, when the war was on, I'll have to say, it was devastating to me to see the destruction of the war, but it was also encouraging to me to know that I had been placed in such a challenging position to do this work. And so that was the beginning of God's House International. It's been a struggle for the last 22 years trying to get the work done. A lot of things get in the way, but to God be the glory. The work is being done, and I'm happy for that.
Give thanks. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's part of the reason that we're doing these types of conversations, so that we are able to share an example of where the work is being done and how it's being built and how there are solutions that are driven. And we're not just complaining on what's not going on in Africa with African people, etc. If we may, Nana, His Excellency Nana, Dr. Wale Idrissa Igbade, would you please share with us about African views and some of the priorities and what's your engagement, please?
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Let me begin by extending my condolences to Dr. Madam Toure. We lost also at about the same time that we lost the Honorable Nkande. We also lost a very strong pillar of our organization, also from Sierra Leone, by the name of Fode Mansare. Together, we did some very important work for Sierra Leone. And one of the things that we often are not aware of in the African community that is so integral to our development is really our foundation of existence. You mentioned earlier the relationship, just briefly, but quite a hint and a very significant one indeed, how Nigeria was actually related to Sierra Leone through Biafra. Now, I need not remind you the relationship of Sierra Leone to the rest of Africa, especially Nigeria, extend far beyond Biafra. You know, the returnees had to go to Sierra Leone to be redistributed to different African countries. Most of them came to Nigeria, Lagos, the Brazilians, the Americans. Oftentimes we don't know these things. And this is why when we start fighting each other in Africa, it becomes a laughing matter. You know, it's just so many brothers fighting over a piece of meat. So I just wanted to acknowledge that for the first, and all the beautiful work that you have done. Ken, thank you. And I look forward to hearing more about your work. So our work at African Views extends to all of these areas. As mentioned earlier, my background is in finance and economics, and I grew up in Austria. So when Dr. SandRa was talking about her tongue, I had to laugh because, believe me, I went through the same thing. You know, growing up even in German territory. And, it all started coming back, not only through studies, but also spiritual phenomenon. And it was in Brazil that I got the hint or the spiritual direction or directives, if you will, that African views had to be founded. And it was founded on one very simple premise. If you can measure it, you can solve it. That's it. That's it. And so I realized, me being a quant originally, that message resonated. And I thought, so how do you measure culture? This is crazy. How do you measure culture? So I started by creating 100 indicators of different measures of African development. This was way before all these stats become popular. So all these measures were important because it allows us to identify the proportion of people of African descent in every single country or territory in the world. And also, in context, the proportion of prosperity and everything that influences that. It's extraordinary work. This data still exists. And as I mentioned, this happened in Brazil. I was just intending to have a yuppie vacation and enjoy myself on boat rides and, enjoy all kinds of stuff in Brazil. But I couldn't. I was working in Brazil. I found myself working. So anyway, that's many years now. And the organization has developed tremendously. I cannot be more proud to the work that we have done and the progress that we have made. One of the things that we realized is that if we are to do any form of reparations, we need to know what has been damaged. We need to acknowledge what has been damaged. And we need to go back to that basics. And if you look at it properly, you realize that it is the tradition and the cultures that were damaged. It is from these royal entities that people were taken, that nations were taken, that countries were broken, people were broken, families were broken. So how do we want to talk about reparations or restitutions for that matter, if we're not looking at these foundations, the reparation of these foundations? So I have taken a great deal of time to study the Pan-Africanists, and I've seen the limitations. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's meant to be. That's what contemporaries are for. That's how we build on their legacy. And our posterity will see our limitations and they'll build on our legacy. And that's how we make progress. So it is important for us to acknowledge those mistakes, acknowledge those shortcomings. And that's why in our organization, we made one of the very first effort we made in the Spirit of Peace and Prosperity Summit was to bring together Garvey and Du Bois to make peace between this organization, between these entities, and bring the families as a symbolic gesture of our intentions towards the future, that we need not have that school of thought and that school of thought, things that divides us. And there are so many wedges between us. And I tell you, it's not ordinary. It's depth deeply in the occult. But we're not going to address that today because we often think that the Westerns don't, no, but the Westerners know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's not just psychological influence alone. There's a lot of power in persuasions. So I don't blame our people. As a matter of fact, I see a great opportunity. I see a great foundation for our people. I see an African person and I'm happy that the future is so bright. And that's the attitude. So, We're very excited. We are launching African Views in Ghana, which is going to be the first of its kind on the ground. We're launching on June 15th, and we are inviting everybody to come to Ghana with us and have this whole African People's Conference and celebration, as well as using that platform to address all the needs that we must address. So I'll leave it at that for the moment. That gives you a perspective. I'll be open to any questions and answer any to the best of my ability. I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Illustrious African Queen Mother Warrior, Sister Dr. SandRa, I know you're prepared to say something.
I promise that I will try to still my tongue, because I am very excited, and as I was listening, I was continuing to make notes, and because I think it would be very important to share with our listeners and our viewers the actual work that our distinguished guests have been doing. So I've been looking and lining some things up, but I wanted to pick up two things. Both of our guests use their voice and their discipline, practice and their movement. So by that I am saying to sing and to chant is not something that many of us, we have become so perfectionists, do. We put down our cultural armor and our cultural science and our divine gifts, and we adhere to and buy into a Eurocentric way of being. So we let go of that cultural aspect, that part that is in our DNA, the part that is in our spirit, the part that was handed to us as divine gifts that only we have. So, there may be many people who can have utterances, but not all of us can chant, and not all of us can sing, and not all of us can bring forth the kind of vibration that has been brought to bear on the healing work of our guests. So as I discover and listen to our Reverend Queen Mother, Dr. Yvonne Washington Toure, who is a clinician, but also a singer and a healer, who also brings the humanity and moves among the people, I say, okay, this is more than what Europe has given to our Reverend Queen Mother. This is divine work. This divine work makes you leave the comfort of your home and step out, almost like you're an African, moving not by your own will, but you are, it is in you. You cannot not do it. It is something that is in you to do. You must do it, otherwise you will be tormented. It is that kind of a thing. Then I listened to His Excellency Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade, and I hear that we now have these indicators. We can now measure what it is, so we can know what has happened to us. We can know what is missing. We can know what to put back. We can know what is impaired. And also has taken the time to look at the Pan-African community that struggles, let us say, struggles, and sometimes we bicker among ourselves, claiming to be more African than the other African. And all of us are broken and healed and have nothing to measure how we are functioning. To know that there is among us a scientist who will bring that which is science to measure, but also is afflicted as the rest of us are, in wandering around as an African and wandering around the globe, trying to heal ourselves, to find ourselves, to offer some solution, which is what we are about as African Queen Mother Warriors. We are about the solution. And so I am struck by this, I am calling it wandering, but maybe there's another word, huh? Because I know my illustrious co-host, the Honorable Snt.Dr. ChenziRa, also wanders around. We are wandering around. I wander around. I leave my family and I go because I am pulled, I am compelled to do this work. So I just wondered if our guests have any thoughts about this healing that needs to happen. This healing that needs to happen, because one of the drivers for us as African Queen Mother Warriors, Snt.Dr. and myself, is that there is a disconnect. We are harmed. Many of us are trapped on plantations. We are trapped on plantations and we are seeking our freedom. And many of our young people are also wanting to know, how do they make their choices? They're pulled to go to the continent. They are confused by the Eurocentric frames of reference and the lesser known African ways of being. So it is said, how can you sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And here we are, often stuck in Western spaces, and our people on the continent need us. What would you offer up? How did you come to be wandering around and doing this divine work?
Anyone can chime in at any time. We're not trying to make this where it's a challenge. It's just we like to naturally have that conversation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Reverend Queen.
Okay, what I'm hearing is not, there's some kind of vibration. So as long as you can hear me, it's fine. Greetings, my sisters. Again, I'm just honored to be on this show, to share my experiences. So as Queen SandRa has said, yes, this is more than I just want to go and do. I made a vow to the Creator at a very difficult time in my life that if He would make me a nurse, I would go wherever He wanted me to go and do whatever He wanted me to do. And I have continued to fulfill that vow. The vow to go to Africa or to work in Africa came when I was 9 years old. I had no idea how that was going to be fulfilled until I exited the military in 1998 and I met my late husband. When I met him, I knew that that was the mode that God was going to use to push me into the continent. Who had gone before me as I stepped off the plane in Sierra Leone. So this work continues to be driven by the work of the people who have gone before me. My mother, my father, my late daughter, New Legacy, New Legacy, was actually a part of the work and did a lot of work in Sierra Leone before she passed away in 2015. So this work is not a just I want to do. It is a mode or a means by which the culture that is within me has been expressed outwardly, but the driving force is the Most High. And so I concur with what you have been feeling and reading, that no, it's not just me. I just believe that if I did not do the work, I could not do the work. I had to continue to work despite the many, many, many obstacles that I came into in doing this work in Africa. And as the Honorable Dr. Wale said, some of that is what people don't want to talk about, the occult type things, but they do exist. And if you don't have the power in you, if the power has not been put in you to do the work, you would quit. I would have quit a long time ago if I did not believe that it was the power of the Most High that was pushing me to do this work.
And amen, Ra, to that. I'm just saying. We're going to get ready to go. That's where
Absolutely.
right. This is deeper than deep.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Toure. Absolutely. Obviously, we know the requirement of this job. To go this far, to go this deep in the direction that we have chosen, or the path that we've taken, or we've found ourselves, it's really because of a greater faith. And we often pray that faith should have a good fate. It's important that there is a faith in that faith, and that faith should be the one that we expect, that we believe that God have chosen, that God had ordained itself. So interestingly, some of the work that we've done with Sierra Leone was with Connaught Hospital. I wish we have known you before. There was this really sweet deal that we managed to put together with Australia and Sierra Leone, where they supply Connaught Hospital with what do you call the machine that allows you to see sonogram? Is it sonogram? It's a computer that allows you to see the fetus in the pregnancy period.
Sonogram machine.
Sonogram, yeah. So yeah, and it was a very good deal. We want to continue that. We are working with a very beautiful sister who just sent me some document from Sierra Leone itself. It's a Club ECOWAS for youths. But since you're in the medical field, I think this would be something more appropriate. I would like us to talk more about this, and because we operate on 4 pillars, which is health, education, economy, and the environment. These are the 4 pillars of our organization. All of these are interlinked, and they are, as you can imagine, very important pillars for our development. So in the health section, just imagine we are still in the middle of pandemic. A lot of people are asking, so where is the African contribution? I tell you, since about 6 years now, I have been working with one of the most brilliant scientists in the world, who happened to be a Liberian. You could Google him. His name is Christopher Dube Nyan. He is the inventor of the multiplex diagnostic tools. What the multiplex diagnostic tool does is diagnose infectious diseases in multiple terms in record time. There is nothing like this in the market. If you go to do a COVID test today, the fastest period I've seen is a 1-day turnaround. Otherwise, even here in New Jersey, they'll say, come back next week. It'll take at least 3 to 4 days. But Dube Nyan's invention, which is patented, by the way, does this within 10 minutes. And it doesn't do one disease at a time. It does multiplex. That's why they call it the multiplex. It does various diseases, whether it's Ebola, COVID, malaria, all kinds of, I don't know what medical terms they ascribe to it, but all the COVID, they have a name for it. I escapes me now, but you know, so it does like 7 to 8 diseases at the same time in record time. There is nothing like this in the market. We carried this project to the desk of everybody, even the American military. We sat with Bader. We sat with all of these hedge funds and stuff like that. The only thing stopping us, which is apparent, is that we're Africans. We've pushed this to many heads of states. Dube was in Rwanda. They love this project, but they're short of money for whatever reason. And I know that's just priority, okay? It is also through this effort that we push to establish the CDC, which is the Center for Diseases in Africa today. It's not something that the Americans wanted to do. It is us that pushed it really hard, and we pushed it here in America until there was an agreement with the African Union to establish it. So there's a lot for us to do, and much of that depends on how well we trade with each other, how well we network with each other. And the reason we don't trade with each other is because we don't know each other. And we don't know each other because we haven't learned about each other. And we are meant not to know about each other or learn about each other or to work together. So it becomes an abstract discussion when we're talking about relationship of what Africanism really is, you know, or our Africanness and so on and so forth. Many of us takes this to heart, but we need to take it to the next level. One of the most important meetings that never took place is the meeting of African and the Caribbeans. We need to bring these leaders together. If the politicians are not going to do it, let the scholars start it. We need to begin to talk to each other. And I don't mean just inviting the speaker here, the speaker there. We need to bring the whole herd together. Sit together, bump heads together, you know, and come up with solutions for our people. It's very important to understand this context. Imagine all that is left to be done in the African context. Just imagine the work we're doing with the Ark, which is the African Royal Kingdom, is so important. And I want you to put this in context. Just put it in context that by the time we're done documenting all these African kingdoms, we will have a mythology that is bigger than the Mahabharata or the Bible itself, let alone the Quran. I want us to put that in perspective for a second. So we have work to do. And this is a work that not a single one of us can do. So there's so many things in the way, so many things, among them ourselves. Perhaps the biggest stumbling block is ourselves. But that's part of it. We have to conquer the self. We have to conquer the self in order for us to rise. So I want us to please, please continue to forge forward on this path, because not one of us has enough solution. We must all move in that direction. Thank you.
I just want.
Oh yeah, go ahead, sister. Go right ahead, Reverend Queen.
Let me just tap on a little bit of what Honorable Dr. Wale has said. I've been doing work in Sierra Leone since 2000. This last trip that I took a couple of weeks ago, the end of April, I met a brother who had been doing work in Sierra Leone for 8 years. So from 2013, he said he was there. And I've been consistently in Sierra Leone since the early 2000s. He is actually the head of the Gullah Leone Union. His name is Chief Fode Mansoure. And I met his wife. And I invited them to God's House International, where I hosted them. We did a luncheon for Sierra Leone Independence Day. And he was so surprised. He said, I didn't know that you were here doing this work. And I said, well, there are a lot of people who knew I was doing the work, but they didn't want to contribute to it. But I didn't let that be a stumbling block to me doing the work that I was sent to do. And I was just happy that we met, and he's a Gullah Geechee as well. So one of the pillars of our vision statement is that we're bridging not only medical, but cultural, social, and economic gaps at home and abroad. So the fulfillment of the cultural gap is now taking place as a result of meeting Chief Fode and the Gullah Leone Union. And I'll have to tell you, as we walk through, there's a place called King Jimmy, where they kept the enslaved Africans prior to sending them off. Even the babies were shouting, "Many roots, one fambo, many roots, one fambo." So the work that this brother is doing in Sierra Leone is also very, very, very impressive. And so we're going to join forces to help continue on that end.
Well, give thanks for sharing that, because I desire to, there's three things I'd like to do, but before I do that, I'd like to ask my magnificent, majestic, loving sister queen, Sister Dr. SandRa, one of our original African Queen Mother warriors, to segue into some areas that she'd like to share. Please.
Thanks. My beloved, precious, wonderful, warm, knowledgeable, important African Queen Mother warrior, Snt.Dr. ChenziRa. Every time we come together to do work, I am reminded that I'm in the right place. When I consider that work that you do, the works that you do, and how it is manifest even in our doing these kinds of reconnections and conversations and elevations and healing, I give thanks. I give thanks to the Most High, and I give thanks to you for being my sister friend and my reflection. I want to give thanks, and I wanted at this point to say that so my name is Sister Doctor, and the reason why I am Sister Doctor is because despite the qualifications given to me by Europe, I am a sister. I'm a daughter of Africa. I'm a daughter of the Most High God. I am a child of those who survived, and there is work that we must do. We must find one another, and we must not have anyone come between us and tell us about ourselves, because we can find out about ourselves, and we must be confident enough to make the mistakes and be empathetic. And in this journey of purpose, in this continuing of the baton, I take time to recognize where my shortcomings are and what I must do to be able to bear witness to those who have gone before, and bear witness to those who we are in the presence of today. I mean, we are in the presence of Reverend Queen Mother Dr. Yvonne Washington Ture, not just because Europe gave you some letters, but because you are ordained and because you stand out, because you have accomplished something, but you have retained something. That is why. And we are in the presence of His Excellency, Your Royal Highness Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade. And this is not just a rumor. This is not a rumor. This is not a rumor. And I know it is not a rumor because I have witnessed this. I see it. I know it to be the case. And so, if I may, just be indulged for a moment so I can bear witness.
Go Jesus, 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 go Jesus. My heavenly Father, who sits on the throne above, you're all I've ever wanted and all I've ever hoped for. I love you, dear Jesus, more than life itself. And each and every day, I'll give you the praise. I'll praise you in the morning. I'll praise you in the evening. I'll praise you in the sunshine. I'll praise you in the rain. I dedicate my life to you each and every moment. I dedicate my soul to you. I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. Jesus, I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. Jesus, I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. Jesus, I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. Jesus, I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. Jesus, I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. I'll give you the praise. Jesus, when I was alone, walking in this cold world with no one to love me and no one who cared, you came right along and gave me your love. And for this, Father, I'll give you the praise. I'll give you
This is me bearing witness that we have those who are ordained to do this work. And I do this because I think, well, SntDr will tell you, I go into conferences and the first thing I declare is that I'm an African woman. Most people are claiming to be many, many wonderful things, but I claim to be an African woman because at the heart of it all, I'm an African woman. It doesn't matter how many numbers I'm given, how many letters I'm given, if I do not hold on to that, then I am lost. And so I continue to bear witness. I tell you, this is our Reverend Queen Mother, Dr. Yvonne Washington Ture, and her work. This is not a theory. This is legacy building. This is compassion. This is healing work. We bear witness. We bear witness that we are the ones we have been waiting for. And so I want to make sure that we honor ourselves and our guests, because this is science and this is divinely ordained work. You must move among the people. You see, this is ordained. This is ordained work. We bear witness to that which is happening. I do not want to just have a conversation, I think, or ankhversation. You see, I am still recovering from this affliction of English. I am in recovery. I am wanting to make sure that we bear witness. We are bearing witness to the phenomenal work of our guests. We bear witness.
Ame babi e mo e ame ba ke no kome wale ame kan lenyo fe na ma chu e bi na lo fe na me ke stule a chu e fe mo nya wo so ma bi fe e ko ma ko so ma shelo mo kan no aba wo so ma na che wo ko e fe ko na che wo ye mo pa fa le mo aka me ba o pa fa yi amo ma me te twa dia na ma shike na ma le ho e cho fe le e mo ma me te twa dia ni ka ma sha chi wo fe wo le no le chu no mos que ani bibi ele mo kele ya se kele ni ba pai na bo be wami na kani ba dumo ni chuno ma ba dumo Ago jere ni we won fa fai amenyi enyi lo aba.
We bear witness. Bear witness. We don't just speak of our illustrious and reverend. We bear witness of your works and we give thanks. We give thanks. Sr.Dr. ChenziRa, I had to do it.
Well, that's how we do. That's how we do. We've been covering so many different areas. It's important that, when persons say, we read these really fantabulous bios, and then people need to see the work and see the actual hands-on in the work, like right there. It's very important that we get an opportunity to see it, hear it, smell it, get the full sensation of it, so that we know when we're speaking of building legacy, it's not only what you speak, it's not only what you write, or how many conferences and seminars and congresses and programs and radio shows that you've done, that on the ground, in the field, with the people, through the essence of that work. It's very essential for us to keep that in the forefront of all that we're doing. The fact that this is the 7th year of the International Decade for People of African Descent, where the whole theme is around the promotion of recognition, justice, and development for people of African descent, which means the planet. Let's make sure we understand where that's going. And we're still navigating on, is there funding for this? Is there funding for that? Are there programs for this? Is there programs for that? What is going on with our sisters and brothers in spaces like what African Views is involved in and doing, in spaces like God's House International, to keep making the work come forward. So those that are hearing, those that are viewing this, truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, divine righteousness, and harmony are the principles of Ma'at. We're very comfortable with navigating around truth. And many of us have embraced our spirituality in its most ancestral, rudimentary, foundational spaces. So we embrace divine righteousness. We deal with harmony to a certain point. And I know a couple of threads might have been twanged when persons hear, wow, we're actually navigating harmony and balance between great ones, ancestors like Dr. W.B. Du Bois and the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And there are persons that are so comfortable in the 20th century difference that they forgot we're in the 21st century. We are mortals moving through a very immortal space. Notice how I said it. We are mortals moving through a very immortal space. When we embrace spirituality, we embrace truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, and divine harmony all the time as Ma'at, that ancestral principle, then we can have these versations. I know I get into it all the time because, yes, I'm a Garveyite in many respects, but I'm also an Nkrumah's Terreus in a lot of respects. And I also carry a very ancestral, ancient, ancestral African, Nubian, New, Kushian, New, Kemetu heritage legacy. Did we get it? Ancient African, ancestral, make sure we're clear, Nubian, New, Kushian, New, Kemetu heritage, not just heritage, heru, in terms of that balancing of our divine mother, our divine father, and bringing forth that fruit. So when we say Ankh legacy, that's what we mean, the eternity of it. You know, I mean, when I hear our sister, and I am always honored and privileged, I have had the joy and privilege of trotting, walking, working with our illustrious sister queen, Her Excellency, Reverend Dr. Yvonne Washington Duray. So I'm just honored to be able to say, I seen her do this. I seen her put on the stethoscope thing and like jump to it. I've watched her do the prescriptions and jump to it. I've watched her provide care and that's not how it's going to go. This is in a variety of settings, whether it was in a prison hospital, whether it was in a regular public hospital, in a very elite private practice, in a various nursing station, in clinics, hospital. I'm in the field and will bring an entire mass unit in the back of her SUV. I like people that when you have an SUV, you use it. And that's how she operates. I'm just saying, I've witnessed these glasses and some
heavyweight, right there.
I'm just saying, it's like, you know, if you're going to travel foreign, you like to go with Dr. I'm just saying, because she's going to make sure you tight spiritually. She's going to make sure you tight medically. She's going to make sure, and that's what we're speaking of when we speak of building legacy, you know, and I would be remiss if I did not. I want to make sure that I cover a couple of things. You're going to see me go through some sites, primarily because, let me go back, within African Views, and I pull on this one because this was one of the conferences that really touched my soul in a lot of ways, on African Cultural Leaders Conference on Ending Harmful Traditional Gender-Based Practices, Harmonizing Cultures and Investing in Peace, Justice, and Stronger Cultural Institutions. This is what they do. This is what African Views does. This is the kind of partnerships they bring forth. These are the things that, in terms of, notice that the topics of discussion, role of women in high-level decision-making leadership. I'm just saying, removing traditional impediments of women repression, such as I'm just saying, this isn't what they just talk about. This was a collection, and I'm going to go through this scrolling very quickly, because yes, there was ties to the Commission on the Status of Women, but it was even, notice what it says, beyond commission of the status of women 65 in terms of what are we doing. So we had powerful royalty, majestic, representing kingdoms and nations and countries, and it just went on. And it's important that our sisters and brothers recognize what was taking place in this particular space, what was being shared. Powerful with translators that made the engagement move streamlined. I'm very grateful to the direction, the strategic planning, and the willingness of our illustrious brother, His Excellency Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade, for bringing this collection of sisters and brothers, regal. Everybody had title. It was customary. It wasn't like how you think. So for persons that think that we just do this thing to do this thing, this isn't that kind of gathering. But when you're doing the work, you should be respected and
Absolutely.
regally. And I needed to
Absolutely.
share that. I'm not finished. I have one more place that I need
Go
to
ahead.
right,
Woo, woo, woo.
right, because as we keep going through these spaces and places, it's very important that our sisters and brothers also get a chance to see that when we're talking about promotion of health, you have to go to the godshouseinternational.org site so that you can see the story, you can learn about what they do, you can notice what it says, get involved. So this is an action program. What we do in terms of holistic healthcare groups and vanguard for health consciousness, I'm just saying, that's the Pan-Africanism, that's global Africanism, that's African fundamentalism, that is Black nationalism, that's all of that. That's restoring our humanity, our shared humanity. And even when we get those differences, we go inside, we're supposed to close your door and deal with your child. You understand? You don't have to bring it out all in front of everybody, because sometimes the emotions and the ego get in and then we don't get to heal. But here we have an organization that is sharing why we act, giving you their mission to be the premier provider of affordable healthcare that bridges medical, cultural, social, and economic gaps. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So it's not an exercise, and it's not theory. I love that. It's not theory. It, that's right. We have evidence, and this is ongoing. This is ongoing. And again, we're seeing some of the pictures. I would like for persons to notice this facility and the openness and the expansive depths that have been put into making sure that each floor provides another layer of health and wellness, spiritually, culturally, and otherwise, in this space in Freetown, Sierra Leone, where a number of us are able to engage and embrace, learning about them, learning about the global programs that are taking place. And again, as I mentioned, here in the Virgin Islands, of course, in the base with the clinic in Sierra Leone, and of course throughout the US and anywhere the sister traverses, she's bringing God's House International in. I love it, in action. See how the cues go? I didn't even know that was on that sheet. There you go. So it's we needed for our sisters and brothers to be familiarized with that. And I again encourage persons, if they'd like to learn more about African views, I always appreciate this particular overview of the Agenda 2063, which really has a long-standing connection to these various UN, UNESCO, AU international bodies. Eradicate poverty. Sound familiar? Improve housing and environment. Comprehensive human capital development. Transform economic performance. Interdependent agricultural economy. Promote peace and security. Empower the youth. Fix intra-trade deficit sustainable infrastructures. Climate change. Gender equality. African passport. I might say that twice. African passport. Promote democratic values, entrusted with worthy global role, efficient and connected exchanges, the unification. I just thought it was very powerful, and monitor and evaluate. So there's checks and balances, and this is essentially the restoration of Ma'at. And while the African Union 2063 agenda chart is produced as part of African views, And again, sharing this so that the intelligence research, sharing this so that the analysis and the practical activities can be understood. So persons that don't understand what they need to do, pick a box, pick a box, pick one. Don't try to do them all, because then you're going to get caught. And the AfRaKa we want. See, that's what, okay. I'm just saying.
When a black woman gives you licks, when a black woman gives you licks, understand it is in the spirit of love. You
Always
need
spirit
to
of love.
care enough to do something.
Right. And that's
Pick
all I'm
a
saying.
box.
Just pick a box, because there's so many opportunities right here, right now. I'm expecting to hear from our illustrious, majestic, excellencies, Reverend Queen, Sister Dr. Yvonne, that she got so many emails and so many contacts and so many links on her space. I'm expecting the same for our illustrious Excellency Nana, Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade of African Views, because that's what we're supposed to do. That's why we do this. Or else we could just sit here and talk to ourselves and be very comfortable, and which we can do, and we're comfortable, but we're sharing this so that there's a course of action. And I expressed to persons, I know if there was like some kind of like other than sensual, negative, something that we were saying, we would have a bazillion hits. But because we're speaking of culture, healing, arts, technology, and spirituality for life, inspiration, and freedom and education, let's talk about that. It's like, maybe it's not spicy enough. So we're asking, and as part of a decree, this is African Liberation Day month. In the Virgin Islands, one of the only governments that actually has a law in place that says the third week of May every year since 1989, to be exact, is Virgin Islands African Heritage Week in the Americas. And that the African Liberation Day flag is to be put up at our Capitol grounds by Legislative Hall on May 25th in honor and solidarity with African Liberation Day. It's in the law. So that's the other reason that we're bringing these types of things up on what is going on around African Liberation Day. What's happening in your community? What are you doing? If you didn't know what it was, now you know. And there's opportunities for you to engage. If these organizations may not give the niche that you're looking for, look for the one that is proactively doing the niche that you can support. Treat it like Sprint. Treat it like AT&T. Every month, all the time, on time, and your services are cut. Did you get that? Right. That's what we're talking about in terms of reciprocity. You can't just take. You have to give so that there's balance and there's harmony. Because otherwise, there is an opposite to Ma'at. For those that were always talking Ma'at, and the Hetep clan, it's called Isfet. Isfet is chaotic. Isfet is disorganized. And Isfet does not restore balance or righteousness or harmony, much less reciprocity. And we're moving in a different direction. I just needed to make sure that I said that so that I stayed and joy in the midst of our discussion. And I know we're getting ready to close, and I will save the selection for when we're completely closed. I really would like to hear a little more as your final word. I won't call it final because you're going to return prayerfully in the future. But just what would you like to leave with our listeners and our viewers? Nana, I'll ask you to share first. Nana, Dr. Wale, please.
Thank you very much. It's been a blessing. As I expected it to be, really, honestly. So I thank you so much and cannot thank you enough. What I think, especially because of the day, celebrating the AfRaKa Day in the month of May, first of all, let me say happy anniversary to VI. I can't wait to come for a visit. You guys are like at the middle of the world somewhere there. Scary when I look on the map, I'm like, oh my God, my sister is there. Okay, so I need to come over. But one thing that I would like to bring to all our consciousness in the Caribbean that I think is very, very important is the reconciliation and the rekindling, as well as rebuilding the bridge with Africa. And part of that requires an understanding on the side of the African Union, something that they would not come onto by themselves. That is, we have to motivate them. Therefore, we need all hands on deck. That is what we call the African amnesty. The African amnesty is very essential to reparations. It essentially means that people of African descent should be able to travel to Africa visa-free. That's the first step. The second step is that people of African descent, as part of the reparations, should be given that privilege that allows them individually to choose any country in Africa they want to be a citizen of, and be given a path towards that citizenship with little or no hindrance. This is very critical to healing, because again, if we look at what we've lost, if we look at what was damaged, we realize that part of this is that ethnicity that was taken away from us. Ethnicity is crucial, it's critical to our being. Not to say that we haven't developed something comparable to some extent, at least to fill that void with the nationalism that we obtain, in diaspora. Nonetheless, it is important for us to work towards that end. So I'd like us to think and ponder this. I don't know, honestly, if this is the right solution, but in my conscience, I think it's an oughtness. And I think it's worth pondering. Doesn't have to be my idea alone. So I think it's something that we all ought to think about. We all ought to put on the table. I understand the challenges. For instance, in the United States, you can't just tell half the people you are free to do this and the other half are not free to do that because they have the same right as citizenship. I understand that. But we also come from different heritage. We have come from different experiences. We come from different challenges. And in order to meet those challenges and heal those wounds of the past, we may need to take some extra measures. So just saying, and I really want us to ponder this a little more, but I believe wholeheartedly that this is a path to healing, and we need to heal. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. Giving thanks, His Excellency, Nana, Dr. Wale Idris Ajibabe. And I'd like to ask the same of our illustrious, regal, majestic Excellency, Sister Queen, great-grandmother, Reverend Dr. Yvonne Washington Terrain. It appears she's having, are you able to hear? You have to unmute, love. Okay, you need to unmute. There
okay. Is it unmuted?
Yes.
It's unmuted?
Yep.
Okay. Giving thanks to my illustrious sisters, Dr. ChenziRa, Kahina, and Sister Dr. SandRa, and my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful African brother, the Honorable Nana Wale Idris Ajibade. I am so elated and blessed and honored to have been on this show today and to connect with movers and shakers of this mission that we call African Descent African unity. So I'm just gonna leave you with this word. I believe one person at a time, one village at a time, one city at a time, one country at a time, we can make a difference wherever we're at. As the sister said, wherever I go, I take the mission with me. It doesn't leave me all. I take it with me and I contribute to somebody somewhere to uplift African people, because that's what we need. We don't need to judge one another. We need to love one another. We need more love with African people loving African people. And anybody can contribute. It's a blessing when people decide to contribute to God's House International, but guess what? I don't count on it. I pray that they will see the work and see it worthy of helping us. But guess what? After 21 years, I know that God will always make a way for this work because He ordained it. I didn't. But I want other people to get the blessing and to feel the blessing that I feel at this day, this hour. When I sat on the fourth floor of God's House International 3 weeks ago, and I looked at the city of Freetown, and I say, God, you sent me here to do this work. I am so honored and blessed that in the 21 years that I have been there doing this work, many people have been blessed because I didn't hold my hand and say, I don't have the tools. People, take what you have and move forward and help not only the continent of Africa, but the people that are living here in the global African community. We can do it. And we can do it, and we can do it. That's what I want to say. And I want to thank my family for supporting me. My son Mujahid, my son Harun, my son Saida, my daughter, the late New Legacy, my son David. I want to thank them. I give honor to Kende for helping me. All my brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone who honor me when I come there. I want to thank all of them for contributing. I took one doctor, and this is my last word, because we are planning to fully open the clinic area by early next year. What I've been doing is going from village to village, but we have prepped the building. We need equipment. If you got equipment you want to give away, we need it. We need lab equipment. We need a bed. We need supplies. We're ready for it. So my co-worker and friend, Dr. Jose Taveras Nunes, went with me, and we did a lot of work in prepping the building for the opening early next year. And we're planning to go early next year to fully open the place up to the community in Upper Marjay Town where we are located, because we've been going to villages. So I'm giving thanks for this platform. Thank you, my sisters. Thank you, my brother, Honorable Bawale. I'm looking so forward, Nana, to talk to you in the future. I'm so happy that we met on this forum. And now, yes, we do know each other. So I'm really blessed and honored. Thank you all. Thank you all. God bless you.
Illustrious, regal, majestic African Queen Mother Warrior, Sister Dr. SandRa, you do have reflections as we complete these last moments, and then I'm going to close us out with a selection from New Legacy, the daughter, the ancestral daughter, the Makerut, the triumphant one, so you can hear another version of the illustrious Reverend Dr. Yvonne. You'll know the fruit didn't go too far from the tree. There you go.
Give thanks, my precious and beloved High Priestess. Wonderful, wonder-filled. It is an absolute honor. I learn every time I'm in your presence, and I'm humbled every time I'm in your presence. I also want to give thanks for the opportunity to be in the presence of this majestic gathering. My eyes are having a feast. Being raised in Europe, you know, where all the aesthetics were pale and white, you know, now that I have found myself, I see myself, and I see myself in Queen Mother, Reverend Queen Mother, Dr. Yvonne Washington Toure. I see myself. I see that I have permission to sing. I have permission to dance. I have permission to cry. I have permission to move among. I have permission to mourn. I have permission to celebrate. I have permission to call the names of my children. I have permission to call the name of my beloved, recently departed, ascended one, our Royal Elder Kande. I have permission to do that. In another space with another frame of reference, it would not be acceptable for me to feel and for me to be an African woman and still be a professional. I see myself, and I give thanks for the permission to be an African woman who is a professional, who cares enough to do something. I give thanks. And His Excellency, the Royal Nana, Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade. I say it. I am saying it. I am rehearsing it, and I am saying it. I am giving thanks for the spirit that is our African man, who is demonstrating the firmness, the flexibility, the caring, the detail, the attention to detail, the call for our healing from the continent and in the diaspora, that we must meet and we must talk. We must meet and we must talk, and we must find ourselves. And we must use the measures that have been made known to us to be able to do what we need to do. It is a blessing. And I would call anyone who is listening to know that what has to happen is that we must put our shoulder to the wheel. We must put our shoulder to the wheel. We must put our hands on the drums, and we must drum, 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 drum. We must lift our voices, and we must sing, and we must chant, and we must pray, and we must sing, and we must chant, and we must chant, and we must sing, and we must laugh, and we must cry, and we must call on the name of the Most High. We must do this because it's our way. It's our way. And in churning up that energy, our path will be made known to us, and we will be guided, and we will be protected. And yes, we must have permission to return home. And our passport is our heritage. It is our right. It is our legacy. And we continue to build legacy. And I give thanks. I give thanks.
And with that, we're going to extend our thanks again to His Excellency Nana Dr. Wale Idris Ajibade. And to this majestic Her Excellency, Reverend Dr. Queen Yvonne Washington. So blending the work of African Views, God's House International, in addition to the plethora of other organizational entities, African Queen Mother Warriors, Parent Ankhem SntDr, and others. So we're encouraging those that are listening, stay tuned, stay informed, We return on June 12th and again on June 29th. Get it right, 14th, 26th, forgive me, 26th. Second and fourth Saturdays from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, which is 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the UK. And we can navigate all the times in between. It's been an honor and a privilege. As we came in, we're going to go out. This particular song is by New Legacy from her award winning CD, Rebirth of the New Light. And we share it as a tribute and the honor of the extension of our beloved sister who has joined us here this evening. Happy African liberation.
Young black female gotta prevail and make this music mine. My destiny to be foreseen, just a matter of time. Can't hold me back, led by the spirit of the living truth. Try to stop me, just understand there's nothing you can do. Because I'm chosen to relay the message you receive. He took away all of my faults and insecurity. Now I am able to reach out to those in great need. Now shall I proceed. Blessed assurance, blessed are the meek, blessed are the hungry, for they soon shall eat. Blessed is the poor man, blessed are the pure, blessed are the persecuted through all they do. Day by day, watch so many people lying and deceiving, killing, robbing, ducking, dodging this thing that we call reason. Give me one for all the aimless conduct I be seeing. Make solutions to the problem instead of being evil. As a community, we need to learn to grow together. Faced with poverty, self-destruction, drugs, a war on killing. Free our souls, the damage has been done. Let's do some healing. The issues deeper than the surface, need to do some digging. Trials come to test our strength. Don't give it to the aim. Storms, they don't last always. So I'm counting my blessings today. Blessed assurance, blessed are the meek, blessed are the hungry, for they soon shall eat. Blessed is the poor man, blessed are the pure, blessed are the persecuted through all they do. Tell me why you feel there's nothing left here to gain. Never deal with the problem, only pacifying the pain. All the drugs and the alcohol is passing right in your veins. Only killing ourselves, my people, that is why it's a shame. Let's make it understood. Struggles in life build character. Respect one another. Take the steps to make a better future. Trials come to test our strength. Don't give it to the aim. Storms, they don't last always. So I'm counting my blessings today. Blessed assurance, blessed are the meek, blessed are the hungry, for they soon shall eat. Blessed is the poor man, blessed are the pure, blessed are the persecuted through all they endure.
And giving thanks, we're looking forward to our next broadcast. Remember, culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. We all are a part of building legacy. Learn, teach, act, share, build. Blessings to all. Until our next broadcast, Hotep, 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 Hotep.
Peace.